All right, welcome back to the Mission43 Podcast. I'm Dan McGurkin, your host, Mission43 Director. I'm here today with Chad Rohr. We're going to be talking with Antonio Gonzalez and Travis Wood of Tri-Town Bicycles here in Boise about our endurance sports partnership with these guys and a lot of the endurance sports and athletic stuff we have coming up for Mission43. Chad's going to run us through first a little bit of the history of Mission43's journey with endurance sports and really doing hard things out there together, particularly this past year, focused on the Boise Ironman 70.3 and what we have coming up into next year, which we're really excited and want to get this content out to you guys so that you have a chance to sign up if you're interested. So, Chad, why don't you go ahead and roll us through real quick what the journey's been like so far?
All right. Well, thanks so much, Dan. The journey's been amazing. I will say that right off the bat. Mission 43 loves to get everybody out doing things together and more specifically hard stuff together. With Ironman coming to Boise back after 10 years of being gone, this is a perfect opportunity to send all of our members into something really hard. So with that, we hired on Tri-Town, a couple of amazing coaches, and they basically took us from being just like more rec sports to like actually engaging, doing hard stuff, pulling the tribe together, and just like executing in an amazing way. So with Tri-Town like guiding us through this and the opportunity to use the Idaho Outdoor Field House as a base for all of that, it's just, it's been super special. And the reason for that is because everyone just kind of started dabbling in it, got a little bit of interest, and then it just started blowing up just because we were doing fun stuff all together. And, it's just so much fun. And on top of that, just having the ability to see everyone do this together and see the results. I know that these guys are going to probably talk about how last year went, but more importantly, we're going to kick this thing off again, and we're going to do it in 26, and we're going to do it better, and also we're going to send it off to several other different events. So I think, we've gone from it's fun doing 5Ks. We have our 9/11 miles of remembrance, but when you send it off and you're doing, half marathons and marathons, thinking about ultras, add in bike and add in swim, and, the cold water in the swim too. It just gets fun. So everyone's doing great things and just having a blast together because of these guys and their partnership, and then just our people coming together and doing it. Yeah,
I think that's what with Mission 43, a part of the pitch, right, is, we're going to help you achieve athletic or otherwise fitness and wellness goals that you would have had to kind of back burner to this point. And with the folks that are in our community as members, a lot of times that means, I haven't had the time or the resources or the confidence to train for something like an Ironman or a half marathon, or, you pick your event. And that's why I think what you've put together and what you guys have put together with Chad is so special, because it gives people the chance to do something that they have not done for themselves or push themselves in that way. But I would kind of ask you guys first, what draws people to do something as arduous? And a lot of this is going to be about triathlon, but I think endurance sports in general, both of you guys will get into kind of your journey with it too. But what do you see as like what draws people to this kind of sport that is really grueling in time? And a lot of it is, with that, if you don't have someone like Mission 43, it can be a bit of a lonely sport if you're out there doing it on your own. And a lot of training miles are put in on your own if you don't have someone or a group like Mission 43 to come together and do it with. What do you think is pulling people to the sport at such a rate that it does?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dan. And I think just the same reason that somebody would join the armed forces.
Yeah.
They want to do something hard, that's challenging, there's a risk of failure. And, when we talk about like the 70.3 event in town, if you don't prepare for that, there's a strong chance you're not going to finish it. Best case scenario is you just embarrass yourself, right? So it's a big challenge, to do an Ironman, to do a half, to do a 56-mile bike ride at max effort.
Yeah.
And I think just that, knowing that like you're going to have to devote some serious time and energy, and that there's that risk of failure is really cool.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think something I would add to that too is like, a lot of times we see folks January 1st join a gym, set these goals that don't really have an end date. It's like to lose weight or to get fit. And when you attach an event to it, it's a really cool motivator for folks as well to just push towards a goal. You get that build up, that crescendo throughout the year. You get nervous for it. You get like super excited. And there's not very many things in life, when you just kind of get into just the everyday mundane routine. There's nothing that really gets you nervous like race morning, like it's like,
I love race morning.
Yeah. Race morning the night before when you can't sleep. It's like, it's something that's like, it's addictive. It's weird. It's stressful. But when you finish, man, there's nothing quite like it. And when you experience that, you just kind of keep chasing it more.
Yeah. It's funny. I was having one of the kids in my daughter's preschool, her dad runs ultra marathons, and I was talking with him, and he used to do a long distance triathlon as well. And I was talking to him about his experience this past summer lining up at a couple of ultras here in Idaho. And he made the joke or kind of the observation that a lot of the people lining up at ultras are like millennial parents. Like if you look around, at
they're
like
all bearded up,
it's all hair. Yeah, it's like the kids are and the families are at the starting line, and they're like patting their 5 or 6 year old on the head, and like to him it was like there's something about people are out there looking for ways to do what you guys are talking about. Like how can I find my limits and know that there's still a lot more that I need to do. Right. And I think it's a kind of that identity piece. And I might even ask too, like how obviously triathlon has become a big part of your guys' identity. I mean, let alone with the business and everything. What was your journey into the sport or endurance otherwise?
Yeah, I personally, grew up probably classic American kid playing basketball, baseball, football, soccer, and always loved sport. But as I got older, I realized that I wasn't connecting as much with the team aspect of sports as I did just sometimes just want to like put my head down and make it about like how hard can I run or, how hard can I play. That originally drew me to cycling and like rock climbing, for example, but eventually in my early 20s, late teens to triathlon. And I just love the fact that it was very much individual sport driven. And that drove me for a long time. Ironically, as I got, I think probably after my first decade of doing triathlon, I actually realized I did the best when I trained with a group, and that's what I think is so cool with what we're doing with M43 is we're taking an individual sport that ultimately when it comes down to it, you have to perform. Yeah. But it is a lot better and you will bring out a better part of yourself when you're around others. And even the race itself, like it is about you and how hard you're going to be able to go that day, but the other people around you bring out a better performance than if you were just out there by yourself. Right. I absolutely love that about triathlon and running and cycling and those other sports too. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. I hated team sports when I was younger. When I went to college, I was kind of directionless, didn't really find an exercise outlet, found triathlon. I was like, cool, this is something I can do on my own time around my studying. And then I started being like, oh man, I'm spending a lot of time by myself, and then started putting together these groups. I'm like, this is so much better when I'm in the pool swimming with, people who are just suffering alongside you. When you're on these long bike rides, you're just like, all right, cool. Somebody else is, going through this trauma bonding with me as well. And one thing I noticed too, it's, being a part of this triathlon community here in Boise, you get to know, almost every race I go to now, there's someone from Boise there. And when I race, I find I personally perform so much better when I'm smiling, when I'm out there high-fiving my friend on the out and back, when I'm talking to a friend on the bus ride to the start of the race or something. It helps relax me. And I think it kind of transcends your own performance and kind of brings that community aspect into it. And that's what keeps me coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that jives with watching, because we had the Tri Club, was open to join throughout the year. So we had membership, we had an initial group and we added throughout the year, which was really cool to see. Do you think that tracks with the general experience of folks who were showing up to our Mission43 Tri Club and are now kind of all in on what we're doing here?
Oh yeah. It's crazy on how the community like self-generates itself. Initially, I think we had like 8 applicants, approved them all. Everybody's in.
Real stringent.
We gotta go.
Just say
it was incredibly arduous.
You're live. Yep, you're in.
Real selective.
But then, it started growing.
Yeah.
The synergy kind of started amongst each other. We were telling our friends about it. More people started hearing about it. They heard about it from you guys. You're like, hey, you're a veteran, and Mission 43 has this thing going on over here. Go check it out. Next thing you know, they're leading from the front, which is freaking awesome. And I think we were up to about 25, 26. And then we slid back to like 17 after injuries and people with life just not being able to get after it. But the buildup and like the friendships and the camaraderie that comes out of it is just crazy. And I'm not a teary guy.
Yeah.
But
we'll edit it out.
I don't know about that.
Not from what I've seen in the pool at least.
But just like coming down, you're sending down the chute for the finish, and you're just feeling all this emotion, and then you start seeing your teammates that all beat you.
Yeah.
No, it's just awesome. And especially when we saw like Tri-Town kits out on the course. We saw Mission 43 kits out on the course. You're slapping high fives. You're having a blast. You're seeing the aid station. You can hear it from freaking a mile away.
Yeah.
And you get jazzed about that kind of stuff. And I don't know, it just pumps me up. Back to the like race morning, you're just like, you're looking around for familiar faces, and you see it, and it just makes everything good. Yeah. Or you're standing in line, going down to the chute into the water, and you're hanging out with your buds that have been training so freaking hard together. And then a lot of times that's the last time you've seen them. Until you see a flyby on the course or whatever that might be. There's just so many cool events that are like that. Like even the Treasure Valley Tri is super small, super fun. I didn't have a great race that day, but when I was out on the course slapping high fives for everybody else that I knew, and it just makes it all fun.
Yeah. I was Brad put me on the mic at the aid station for 8 hours. So that was that was like day 11 for on the job for me. That was fun. But I had such a great, you saw more, because we had Mission 43, like families of Mission 43 participants that had trained with you and with you guys at Tri-Town going through the aid station, and like kids and spouses running up to hug their athletes while they're slamming like Mortal or like pumping a gel in before they got to go, because it was 2 laps, by the way. So we got to see them twice. But it was like, you can't, if you could bottle that and sell it, I think that moment captures all the work and a lot of the identity transformation, I think, that happens. We had a couple folks who, their significant other would go through, and they'd come up and they were in tears and come up to me while I'm at the aid station, and they'd be like, I am so proud of, because throughout the process, right, the training is regular cadence. They know they're coming to the field house to do this stuff with you guys, or they're getting together on Saturdays for a long run or a brick workout or something. But then to see it come to, wow, like the person that I know is like doing this super hard thing, and they're kind of crushing it. Like, we didn't, every Mission 43 athlete that was trained with our program and with you guys they were hitting their pace marks. Like they were running through the aid station.
They were all going to finish.
No, it wasn't a question of that at all.
It was just like, who's going to beat their time, their goal that they set. It wasn't just a finisher.
No, and that's
Chad was the only one I was concerned about.
Yeah, we were. Chad.
You were the only one, Chad.
Chad was
just rubbing icy hot on his back, like, don't cramp up, don't cramp up.
Well, and also though, just because, and I'm trying to impart to folks who are maybe watching or listening to this, like, the partnership with you guys is so special, because we actually hadn't had the chance to meet yet, but I have at that moment, now obviously we know each other pretty well, but like, I remember you like off to the side in the bushes at the aid station, like watching athletes come through, like shouting some notes to them and stuff as they're coming through, and all the Tri-Town kid. It was like, it just made you really proud of Mission 43 community, what Tri-Town's doing for this type of stuff in the state, and then just like of our state to like have that event. We were, we got told it was one of the best aid stations they've ever seen at an Ironman, which was like a really cool thing for us to be able to give back, I think, to the community too. Oh, yeah. But I did want to ask you, I think there's a big part of the work that we do, Chad, with the Mission 43 that deals with the identity transition. And you've had a journey with endurance sports before this a little bit. And now you're watching other people kind of start or begin that. And is there something it becomes like a big part of your life, like finding a new way to push yourself like this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird what happens to you when you're playing in that game. My first one that I'm not an endurance athlete. I am a rec guy trying to do it, but it's like I was ill prepared to go into Coeur d'Alene as a full Ironman, and I wasn't able to start it. But I knew I was just I might make it out of the water.
Slog through it.
But you just got, when you're trying something new, you're looking for camaraderie. It's just it hurts if you don't have anyone around you to do it with. And then when you do it with others and you have like really cool guys correcting you.
Yeah.
I started pretty light. It was just like a life goal. I want to do an Ironman. I don't know if I ever will, a full. But
you'll get there. These guys
I'll tell
are
you
going to
what,
make
70.3s are becoming fun, and now I start seeing it. And even out of our group this year, everyone was doing the 70, but then all of a sudden, bing, bing, we have 2 guys that are out going after their first Ironman.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just awesome to, just dial it up that much more. But when you're going from one situation to another and you're trying to find your identity, you just want to have those others that are going through the same thing, and then you just latch on to each other. It's like a brotherhood, a sisterhood. It's a family that you really create, and it's so valuable. And I think that's in any sport that you really have to try hard at. You get that rite of passage that just that's that bond, and like the Ironman community is so cool to see it just like blow up the place. It was so awesome to, hey, let's go for a bike ride, and then next thing you know, you're out on the run, out on the bike course, and there's like freaking 40 people out there doing the exact same thing, and you're slapping high fives, and you discover so many people that are in the same situation that you are. And once you realize that, and that's just like in and out of the service, everyone's going through it. You always just have your thing in your mind that you're the only one. But once you realize that someone else is going through the same thing, or there's others that have gone through it in the past and you learn from them, it's just like powerful.
Yeah, I think that's right. And a lot of our members are folks who want to like really push themselves. So I think that the idea that they can do this, and not even just do it in the sense where you maybe approached your first full up in Coeur d'Alene that you were going to go do, where I'm like, I'm going to get through this, I'm going to do it myself, and do the best I can not to get injured and do it in a healthy way and progress to where what we're trying to offer and what you guys are helping us offer is like, no, you not only can you do this, but you're doing this with Mission 43 is we're like trying to help you do it to the best possible ability you can given the level that you're coming in at. And as long as you want to continue, we're here to like help you continue on that journey to continue to improve, which I think is really like attractive, right? It's like limits. You want to do it your best, right?
Yeah,
like if you're go out there.
You're chipping away at the armor. You're no limits. And it's funny. You're like, maybe I can sit here and I can do this. Next thing you know, you're up here doing it.
Yeah.
And you have a bunch of people that you're doing it with.
Yeah, and then you're Travis running 7-minute miles on the half
and he's
marathon.
Squishing you. Yeah. You're like, man, why are you lapping me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you're beating up on 13-year-olds on your training plans.
It's one race.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sense of community is like, I'm sure that people that serve together, on day one, you probably don't feel like a squad or a community. But after you've gone through some stuff together, in our case, through some hard workouts and maybe some failed workouts, that is really what draws people together. And I think that's what's really cool about what you guys have helped all of us build here, is an opportunity to people have these shared, tough, sometimes emotional or just brutal experiences. And on the first week, like the group is always a little awkward and a little standoffish. There's maybe, if there are egos, they're kind of like not sure where they're going to fit in.
They'll get checked fast. Yeah.
Yeah, most certainly.
I thought we were all good on the first day.
You were, Chad. And, a little peacock over there. But after, the first, second, third month, I mean, it really is a team by then. And it just takes that, like going through running in the rain, riding through a storm, swimming at 6 a.m. when you really don't want to be. And that's what draws people together. And so the fact that we can help create that opportunity for people to come and to build that sense of community and teamwork together is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, anything to add on that, Travis?
Oh, I mean, that summarizes it really well. It's, it's just really cool just to see, touching on what Antonio was saying about like that first day, everyone's like, oh man, what am I doing here? And just watching them grow, watching them come out of their shells too, and just be like, oh cool, like that confidence that builds from just day after day of hard work is really cool to see. And I can't really attest to what happens in their day-to-day life, but I would imagine it probably helps just in multiple facets.
I'm so stoked for this next year coming up, because not only is it Mission 43 members, it's going to be CAF Idaho killing it too.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have freaking like 80 people in the pool. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah. Circle swimming. Yeah. No, it's incredible. And I think that's the other part of what we're so for next year looking at with kind of the multi-sport team model that's going to be targeting 7 races in Idaho that are built into the training plan, kind of working towards 70.3, but able to join if you're looking at one of those particular races and get ready for those too. There's just so many different ways and opportunities to push yourself, and doing it intentionally alongside CF is it's just going to be incredible.
I know we were kind of hanging out last year together. Yeah. I mean, you see Bob Babbitt. Everyone knows Bob. Him coming in and cheer us on. I was looking at even this morning, I'm like, they're about to kick off the World Championships, and he's doing breakfast with Bob. Yeah. I don't know why, man. That stuff just gets me stoked.
Yeah.
I know, and I'm watching all these athletes over there. I'm like a weirdo on YouTube, all because of last year. My algorithms, all freaking how to swim better, biking stuff, run technique. I'm following all these crazy athletes. I follow Travis now,
It's really throwing off your algorithm.
Yeah. It's all Travis content coming through YouTube.
Family walks in, you're just watching another Lionel Sanders video. They're like, oh my gosh, man, come on.
They're like, what's going on here? Yeah. No, I'm just so excited. I mean, this is the best job in the freaking world to me.
Yeah.
And you know what? I just get to do it with everybody, and I'm just so happy for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I didn't know. I mean, I knew who Antonio was, but like, I think that we're kind of friendly now.
Yeah.
I look forward to his emails. What's going on
in
the world of endurance
guy. He's
sport?
kind of hard not to look forward to interacting with. Yeah. Well, you guys have seen and done some of this stuff like across the country. Obviously, we're here. Like, what makes Idaho such a great place for these type of sports? Like, where these longer endurance sports, or maybe it's long-term or long-distance triathlon.
Yeah, when I look at like hotbeds of high performance in sport, the one thing I'm confident that doesn't matter is like if it's at sea level or altitude or whatever, it's not really the location that matters, it's the community that matters, right? For people would say, hey, I got to go to Boulder if I want to be a pro triathlete, because I need to live at 6,000 feet or whatever. Absolutely not. I mean, right now, some of the best triathletes in the world that are sweeping the podiums are coming from sea level in Norway. And it clearly has nothing to do with altitude in this case, right? Some of the best triathletes have come from San Diego, and so what happens is that you have a community of people and maybe some coaches and organizations that come together and say, hey, let's find a way to work work together and bring out the best amongst ourselves. And then over time that grows into something really special. And Boise has that. You know, we had 2 riders in the Tour de France, you know, this year, which was absolutely amazing. And we had, you know, in the World Championships in Ironman, we had a lady from Boise in the top 10. And it's an amazing place we live in right now. And you guys are a big part of growing that community and building that community. Tri-Town's been doing its part for 15 years, and I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, and I think what adds to that too is like Idaho is a relatively small population when you look at the grand scheme of things. It's like just over 2 million people or something, but especially Boise, there's such a high density of outdoor-oriented folks, have active people who enjoy just challenging themselves and pushing themselves. When you take that and look at how many people are into, you know, these endurance events, whether it's cycling in the Tour de France or just locally around town, the trail running, the access to the foothills here. There's so many tools at our disposal here in Idaho and specifically here in Boise too, that it just makes it just the next logical step to get involved in something hard and challenging outdoors. We're in a beautiful place. Take advantage of it, you know?
Yeah, I think that's right. And when we were in the process of building out the program for next year and looking at races that we can target, you know, we're looking at Idaho. There are so many great races in Idaho that you can target that give you such a great like tour of such a diverse geographical state of, you can do everything from, you can go run a Stanhope up in, you know, McCall or whatever, right? And like see that part of the state, Coeur d'Alene Marathon, like all these crazy cool ways to like
Pocatello, go to Scout Mountain.
Pocatello, do Scout Mountain, like, or you can hit the Yellow Pine, right? And like hit some of these other type of or Olympic distance events and stuff like that. It's just, and I think because we're really privileged to get to live in a place where it's like you said, it's kind of the same people who are coming out, or maybe a few new ones that are getting pulled in with each of these races. And so the community is so tight knit because it's not this massive. It's not always this massive. I mean, the Boise 70.3 was definitely a large event. We had a lot of people out there running it, but it was a lot of, like you guys said, like people you know at the starting line. They were out there like doing all these same events together. I just think it's so unique and so cool. One last thing I do want to hit on before we kind of wrap it up is just some of the parallels for folks who are out there thinking about, you know, this has been in the back of their mind, maybe doing something like this or getting into this, or maybe they're still active duty and they're thinking about, or from Idaho, coming back to Idaho. And they've had to back burner this because they're working on the PT test or something like that. Like, what are some of the parallels between this sport and the things that the best parts of the military? Because we like to say that it's Mission 43, we try to make it the best parts of the military without all the bad parts. I think there are a lot. I think grit is obviously a big one. But I would kick it over to you, Chad, I guess, as someone who's been doing some of this. But you guys as well. I mean, you've seen so many people. You trained, you know, a couple dozen of these people just in the last year alone of our members who have experienced this. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about that.
I got something to share with that.
Go.
So
You
first,
go.
I'm not a vet, so I'll never profess to understand, you know, what they're going through. But one observation I made when I opened Tri-Town was I had thought about opening a business for 8 years before I did. Mm-hmm. I was 27 when I opened Tri-Town, and for 8 years I was so scared of what I didn't know. I was like, how much money do I need to open a business? How much experience do I need? How much education? You know, what location? All these questions. And I remember just a few months after we opened the shop in Hyde Park 15 years ago, I was like, dang, I was scared of so much stuff, and all I had to do was take action. Mm-hmm. All I had to do was sign up. And then just by taking action, that initiates the next step and the next course of action. And so for anyone that may be out there and on the fence about signing up for a big challenge like what we're talking about here or anything else, is you don't have to have all the answers in the beginning. Mm-hmm. You know, just get started.
Start after it.
Yeah, just start training,
yeah.
And you will figure things out as you go.
Right.
That was the biggest lesson I ever learned in that first few years of opening a business.
Yeah, that's the hardest. The hardest thing is taking that first step, and then you'll learn along the way.
Yeah.
And that's with anything.
Right.
You know, I had a pretty easy job in the Navy. You know, I wasn't overseas fighting the war. I was hanging out, recruiting, doing all that kind of stuff. But it was super cool to see everyone that first time, seeing them saying that they wanted to join the service, and they'd go off and do great things, and they'd come back and tell me about them. That was super cool.
Yeah.
That's just like anything we're doing here. You just got to dip your foot into it, and get after it, and things will turn out all right. It's just like every day, just take each day, freaking make the most of it. Life is short. Life is super short.
If you're waiting to do something, you're wrong. I think that's totally right. If you're waiting or thinking you're gonna have time later, you're wrong.
I think that's the value of many Mission 43 members and the spouses that are out there supporting the service members is just get after it, be there, be present, be curious, and things are going to turn out all right.
Yeah, I mean I think that's exactly right. And the thing that keeps me coming back to endurance sports just at a personal level is like there's something that happens to you it's usually time versus distance into whatever you're doing. If it's a workout, if it's whatever. In the Marine Corps, I experienced it the most on like long ruck runs, right? So like you get an hour or two into a ruck run or something difficult, and there's a part of your brain, I don't pretend to be somebody who can tell you what's going on, but like you are suddenly in a place with your own thoughts. Sometimes it's a pain cave, sometimes it's something else, but you are in a place where you can only access one way, and it's by putting yourself into that space for long enough. And when you leave and I've kind of dove into some endurance sports stuff since I've left the military or started my transition. I think it's important for folks on the veteran side, and if there are, I just think it's important to keep finding that. And if it maybe there's another avenue than endurance sports. I think this is a really clear one to me, where you can still go find that place where you were having very, very real conversations with yourself about what you're capable of and how far you can keep going, and trying to keep yourself right there on that knife edge you can't really get it anywhere else once you leave the service. And I don't know if that's just my 2 cents, but Travis, any thoughts on parallels or something like that?
You learn a lot about yourself when you go on a vision quest for a 3-hour bike ride, and you've forgot to take in calories for the first 2 hours, and you're like, oh man,
start hallucinating.
What's happening? But it's one of the things that I noticed when we started working with the group with M43 was realizing that there wasn't a lot of pushback from anyone in the squad when we were like, hey, here's the swim set. They're like, all right, cool. Put the head down and let's just get to it. It's
that was
not
so refreshing. Compared to other squads we've coached where it's just constant pushback.
I mean, the most mouthy person was Chad, and he was
and
it was mostly good spirited too. But
if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong.
And I can only imagine.
Nice, let's just get it done. Like, all right, what's the workload? Let's go. And that was really refreshing with this team we built last year.
And I can only imagine like what happens in the day to day of like folks in active duty. It's not something I've experienced, but seeing that kind of, just cool, this is what we're doing, we're going for it, was really cool to see. And it was like, all right, cool, no questions, no comments, like, nope, we're doing it. I'm like, all right. And I think one of the cool things about this program too that we have is, if you are getting into this journey, there's so many questions that you have, especially like multi-sport, when you're swim, bike, and run, or any combination of those. When you're starting out, there's so many questions, so many unknowns. You can kind of go online and find a training plan or something and roughly follow it. But to have experts who can answer those questions, who have been through that, who have made those mistakes, gets you that much further ahead on the game on achieving your goals. And I think that's, like something that we can really add value. And it's so cool to see just the work ethic of just all these folks in the group. It's refreshing, as Antonio said.
Travis and I were talking not that long ago about like the future of endurance sports coaching, and really with the growth of AI recently, like there's some really good generic training programs that people can just go and ask ChatGPT or Claude to just generate for them. And honestly, we look at the structure of those programs and the layout, and we're like, it's pretty darn good, like solid. But what it can't do is be there on deck with you at 6:30 a.m. and look you in the eye and be like, Chad, like today's not the day for this. We got to make a change.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool. What Mission 43 and CAF is doing is like, or helping Travis and I and the other coaches be there with you guys in the moment and say, okay, this was the original plan that we had all written out months ahead of time. But now that we have our boots on the ground and we're looking reality in the face, we're going to make a change. And that is really the future, I think, of human to human coaching. And so we're stoked to be able to do that with you guys.
No, it's awesome. And I think just on that too, like the more, I mean, I find with myself, like the more I am strapped to a device every day, the more I want to not be. And being on a multi-hour run or bike ride or doing a swim for sure, unless you're like Chad and you got all the gadgets and can have them in the water with you. Not all of them.
What's he strapping to his body now?
It's so great. It's right. It's like people are going to want to continue to do that. I'm positive. I'm long on endurance sports. I think they're going to be growth only in the future. So, for sure. Well, is there anything else coming up for Tri-Town that we should let folks know about outside of what we're doing with Mission 43 and CAF that would be useful if they're down here in the valley and can swing by?
Oh man, but definitely come by and see us. Travis and I are there almost every day, at least one of us, and then plus the rest of the team. And we just launched a new website yesterday, so go check that out. Give us some feedback on that. Yeah,
sweet.
Oh,
yeah, same but different. And we've got a lot of little projects kind of stewing in the background, but mostly just here to focus with you guys for 2026.
Okay, well, we're super pumped about it. I can't tell you. I mean, Chad and I spend an embarrassing amount that I will not disclose of our day, like talking about and scheming about how awesome this is going to be. Yeah. So for folks who are interested in the multi-sport program, the way to sign up is maybe by the time this episode is out, but or shortly thereafter, a message will come out from Chad and you'll see it on the Mission 43 website. There'll be a way to click, go through the application process. You'll probably get reached out to from Chad and maybe have an opportunity, depending on the process, to talk with one of the Tri-Town coaches if you want a little bit better flavor of if you have some specific needs or something like that and are worried about getting through the program. That is going to list out all the races we're looking at for next year. It's going to give you a really good idea of, depending on your goal, what you can specifically target and what you feel like you can achieve, balance, and everything else in your life. We're just here to help you do it. Chad's fantastic. He's such a positive force every morning and all the stuff that we're doing. And then you guys obviously are just a completely invaluable resource. We're so grateful that you guys are here with us selfishly, but just like in Idaho, lifting this stuff up in the state as people who care about this place is unbeatable. I mean, I just feel like it's only good, and we're so lucky to have it. So with that, I think we'll kind of wrap it up. And thank you guys. This was awesome. I just also love seeing you guys. This is always
thanks for having us.
So great.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. See you next time.